The Atlanta Braves just can't seem to put it all together this year. Finally, they're getting base runners, and now they can't get them in. They go from being one of the best teams in the league with runners in scoring position to being one of the worst. What is going on? They got to figure it out. We'll talk about that and more as we record this live episode during the game on Wednesday night. All that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at ShortstopBall. Make sure you check out the podcast there as well at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any comments, questions, or feedback that you have for the podcast. If you're new and watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and that thumbs up button. I do appreciate your support there. You're listening on the audio version, make sure you leave me a 5-star review, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, all the great places that you can get Locked On Braves. Thank you so much for your support of us here at Locked On Braves. If you're an everydayer, let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for all those comments. Haven't been able to get to a lot of them this week. It's a pretty busy week for me. That's why the schedule of the podcast has been a little mixed up, as I've been at the SEC baseball tournament pretty much all day so far this week. So we're doing a live episode during a game on a Wednesday night. We will be back for another live episode on Thursday night for our weekly Q&A session. So be looking to send in those questions to be answered on Thursday night's podcast. But on today's podcast, we're going to talk about those issues with runners in scoring position, what's going on with the Braves right now. I'll obviously update you as the game is going on Wednesday night. And then we'll take a trip around the league, look at the standings, what's going on around the league, a couple of rising superstars that I want to take notice of, and just maybe some things that if you're only focused on the Braves, you might not know that's going on. So I like to try to keep you updated with everything else that's going on in Major League Baseball. Before we do all that, though, got to let you know about eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, we're going to get into this issue with runners in scoring position. Before we do, though, shout out to Ecuadorman, Joe Me, George Smith, Mike Porter, Golden Child in here with me watching live while we watch the game together. Braves currently up 2-0 in the fifth inning on an Adam Duvall home run. Max Fried looking really good. Hopefully they'll be able to hold on in this one. Like I said, I'll keep you updated as we move to the bottom of the fifth now. The Braves, I talked about it the other day, and I'm trying to speak it into existence. I apologize if maybe I jumped the gun a little bit too much on Tuesday's podcast, where I said this Braves offense is ready to explode, and then they have a game like they did on Tuesday, where they get plenty of base runners, especially earlier in that game, but cannot capitalize. They do score 3 runs, which the way the pitching staff has been lately should be a win. And I talked about this on the postcast with Grant McCauley. If you catch a fly ball, I mean, that's all you got to do in that game. If Zach Short catches a fly ball, the Braves win on Tuesday. And yeah, there's still the issues of the runners in scoring position we have to talk about, but at least it's in a win. And, at least they scored 3 runs. I mean, with the way this offense has been, I'll certainly take that. But it was a frustrating one for sure. And I've talked about the fact on Tuesday's podcast, the top of the order, getting things back together, then they looked terrible on Tuesday. So I'm going to quit speaking on it. I'm just going to let it happen because whatever I say, it seems to be reversing whichever trend the Braves team is going. All that said, I do think this offense is trending in the right direction and will get things together. But let's look at this issue with runners in scoring position, because that's what the Braves seem to be dealing with right now. On the season, the Braves are 5th in all of Major League Baseball with runners in scoring position, hitting .282. Now, a lot of that work came in the first couple of weeks of the season. A lot of the Braves' offensive stats came in those first 2 weeks of the season. However, you look at May, the Braves are 24th with a .222 batting average with runners in scoring position. So, again, it's just this problem I keep talking about that the Braves have had this year, where it's just not only is not everything clicking at one time, and look, it's very rare that you get, the pitching going with the hitting and the good defense and the timely hitting. It's rare to maybe have all of those going at the same time. But it seems like with the Braves, it's either one thing is going great and the other thing is going dreadful. Like there's no in between. There's no, pitching is great, offense is just okay. It's pitching is great, offense is terrible. It's no just, pitching is okay, hitting is great, runners in scoring position is terrible. It's no just runners in scoring position is okay. Like they're not 15th with runners in scoring position in May, they're 24th. If they were 15th with runners in scoring position, might be a completely different subject right now. But it's just they haven't had a stretch of games so far this year where they're just at least good in everything and maybe great in a couple of things. It's either they're great in one thing and they're terrible in another, and that thing that's terrible is dragging them down and keeping them from really taking off. You look at players with runners in scoring position on the season. Ozuna, obviously at the top, with hitting 325. Albies at 268. Michael Harris at 250. Ronald Acuna Jr. 247. RC at 247. Riley 243. And Olsen at 223. I mean, honestly, 250 or better, not great, but you'll certainly take that. And that's what most of the guys have on the year, except for Matt Olson. But you look at players in May so far. Ozuna, again, at the top, 322. He's been great all year long. Max Fried with a ridiculous strikeout on a curveball against Morel. But everybody else in May, Olsen, 258. He's been better. Ronald, 250. That's okay. But it's that bottom of the order. Again, it's either all or nothing. The top of the order guys are still doing okay, 250 or better. But now the bottom of the order guys are Arcia, 197, Albies, 188, Michael Harris, 154. No, Albies isn't a bottom of the order guy, but he's been dreadfully cold for a while now. And it's just, again, you put one piece together and then another one breaks. And that just seems to be the way things have been going for the Braves so far this year. But look, at least they're getting runners on base. Those hits with runners in scoring position are going to come. I know they're frustrating, especially when you lose a close game. You go back to the Padres game. I said I don't put that one on the hitting. They scored 5 runs. Joe Jimenez just had a disastrous 8th inning, but still there were chances in that game for them to do more. And I think that's just kind of where this offense is right now. Again, they're doing a little bit. They're doing better. You still want them to do more. And there's room and opportunities for them to do more. Also, just wanted to speak on Zach Short. I kind of touched on it a second ago, although he just made a pretty good play here in the bottom of the 5th inning of this game. I have spoken highly of Zach Short and the replacement that he has had for Austin Riley. But that seems to be coming to an end here, and I'm ready to get Austin back. Hopefully we are close to that happening. Took some swings on Wednesday, which is good. Still need him to see him take, live BP. I mean, at this point, he's been out over a week. I assume, the Braves didn't IL him, so you can't put him on a rehab assignment. So they're just going to have to stick him back in there whenever they deem that he's ready. But then again, at that point, he hasn't played for over a week. And we know our guys aren't great when they've been sitting for a while. So that worries me a little bit about Austin Riley, but at the very least, getting his defense back out there. Like I said, he was doing great in the month of May, hitting over 300 before he got injured. Hopefully that can continue and get him going. Hopefully Sean Murphy gets back quickly. He hit a home run in his first rehab assignment. So, there is hope on the horizon for this Braves offense. But again, kind of going back to my point on Tuesday where I said this offense is ready to break out. I still feel that way because you're seeing them get runners on base. You're seeing them put pressure on throughout an outing. It's just those big hits just still aren't there right now. But once those come, you're going to see these 3-5 run games turn into 6, 7, 8 run games. And again, we know that's coming, and I believe they're really close to making that happen. All right, next, I want to take you around the league. We'll talk about the standings, offensive performers, a couple of young stars, some news to talk about as well. This Josh Hader situation, I don't know if you've heard about that. Max Fried works a clean 5th inning. We go to the 6th here, still 2-0 Braves. I don't know if you heard about this Josh Hader news, though, about requesting load management, basically, until he got his chance at a contract. I want to get some of your thoughts on that. We'll discuss that news and much more here next. Baseball season is in full swing. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBI, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry and see the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, and that's all you got to do. It's that simple. That's what I'm looking at right now. So I apologize for me stumbling on some of these, but I want to pull out my PrizePicks app as I do every day and see what they have out there. We're recording right now in the middle of the Braves game, so you might have missed out on that. But you're looking at some of these late night games. They have Tyler Glass now at 7.5 strikeouts against the Arizona Diamondbacks. You just pick more or less on that. They have Shohei Ohtani, 9.5 hitter fantasy score, more or less on that. Mookie Betts, 8.5 in that same game. And you can look up and down here. Brent Rooker, I know a player that a lot of Braves fans are hoping the Braves might get at some point. They have him at 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBI. And that's all you got to do. Open up your PrizePicks app, see what they have out there, pick more or less on those player stats like I just mentioned. So make sure you download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. You're going to get a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the PrizePicks app today and use our code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. You like having sports on your TV all day long, but you get so tired of hearing the people on ESPN and Fox Sports just shouting all day. You're constantly having to mute it or turn it down. Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I mentioned a little bit earlier, schedule's kind of off this week, but we will be back on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Central, 10 Eastern for a live mailbag episode. Get ready to submit your questions for that podcast. Just saw Ron Acuna Jr. ground out for the 3rd time already in this game. Hate seeing that. Certainly want to get him going. It was a bad night for him and Matt Olson on Tuesday. Hasn't been a great night for Matt Olson tonight either. I want to see those two guys get things going as it looked like they were before I made that podcast saying that the offense was ready to break out. Ozzie Albies, he grounds out as well. He has been dreadful here as of late. Got to get those guys going at the top of the order. But let's take a look around the league. We'll start out by checking out the standings right now, where things don't look great for your Atlanta Braves. They are 6 games back in the NL East behind the Phillies, who are 8-2 in their last 10 games and have won 4 in a row. They have a run differential of plus 83. They are taking care of business against that schedule right now, and they are pulling away from the pack. I'm going to be honest with you, and I said this before the season started, so I don't think I'm saying anything here that's reactionary in the moment. I don't care. I'm not going to say I don't care. I'm not concerned about the division right now. Maybe come August, certainly I'll start to look at it a little bit more at that point. As long as the Braves hold on to that first or even second wild card spot, I would prefer the first one. As long as they do that, again, I'm not that convinced that winning the division and getting that bye is that huge of a deal. Now, I want to win the division, and I think it certainly is somewhat of an advantage, but it's not to the point where I'm seeing the Braves are 6 games out and getting close to the end of May, and I'm concerned. I'm just not. I'm not that concerned about it at the moment. Looking at the rest of the standings around the league, the Yankees up 2.5 games on the Orioles now. The Yankees are 7-3 in their last 10, while the Orioles are just 4-6. The Guardians are 9-1 in their last 10 games, including taking a couple of wins over the Mets. You want to feel bad about where you are as a Braves fan right now? Go check out the Mets and feel for Mets fans at the moment. They are really in a bad spot. But the Royals are playing just as good. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They won 6 in a row, as have the Guardians, and they're just a game and a half back of the division lead there. The Mariners have opened things up a little bit in the AL West. They're 3 games up on the Rangers. The Astros heating up a little bit. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, 5.5 games back of the division lead. There's Marcell Ozuna takes another walk. I mean, that's just what Ozuna has done, man. When he has turned this thing around, it's not just the home runs, it's the walks. He gets on base. He'll shoot a ball the other way. Again, I say it all the time about Ozuna, but it just really was a complete overhaul in his game when he turned things around last May. And he does this all the time. He will battle back and he will have those walks and he'll just do things to help you win ball games. In the NL Central, the Brewers are up 1 game on the Cubs, who the Braves are playing right now. Both of those teams 4-6 in their last 10 over there. The NOS, the Dodgers are up 8 games. I told you I'm not really worried about the NL East right now, where the Braves are 6 games back. If I'm the Padres, I'm worried in the NL West. If I'm 8 games back of the Dodgers. I think that's a wrap at this point. The Dodgers have a run differential of plus 83, same as the Phillies, which is now the best. Those 2 run differentials are the best in all of baseball right now at the moment. I want to get to some of the news around the league. I'm going to skip going over offensive and pitching leaders this time. Next week, we'll talk about leaders for the month of May as Matt Olson shoots the ball the other way. So that's good to see. He got a hit there, 2 on, 2 outs here in the top of the 6th. I want to talk about some news. This is a tweet coming from Travis Salchik on X. He says, this year in Major League Baseball, these are teams, this is complete, totality of everybody in the league. Average is 240. Batting average on balls in play is 289. Strikeout or home run to fly ball rate is 10.8%. That's the one to key in on right there. 10.8% home run to fly ball rate, 22.3% strikeout rate. Through May 20th of last year, it's a 248 average, so it's 8-point higher average. That's a huge difference when we're talking about batting average. A 297 batting average on balls in play. That's also, pretty big increase from last year. But here's the one I think that's more pertinent to the Braves and what's happening this year. 12.3 home run to fly ball ratio at this same point last year. So we're not talking about looking at all of last year, where we know things typically pick up in the summer. This is from the same point last year, same point this year. It was a 12.3 home run, 12.3% home run to fly ball ratio at this point last year. It is 10.8% this year. That is a huge difference. Baseballs are just not leaving the yard like they did last season. You can talk about the elements. You can talk about them, many different things. Maybe it's just an outlier. But I know from watching Braves games, at least, and watching other games around the league, there have been some balls hit against the Braves that I thought were gone that weren't. It just seems like, I talked about the other day, I'm not trying to put my conspiracy theory hat on here, but it seems to me like the baseballs have changed. Something has changed. And here's what will happen. And we've seen it happen before. All of a sudden, either Major League Baseball, how they handle the baseballs, something will change. They won't tell us. And then baseballs will start flying again like we're used to seeing. And we'll just forget all about this start to the season. That's what has happened in seasons past, where home runs were kind of slow to begin the year, and then things kind of just gradually ticked up. And again, it's I don't care what type of baseballs we use. Just let them be the same. Just let them be the same baseballs every year. I don't see how that is hard to comprehend as a league. But moving on from that, this stat from Sarah Langs. If you have not watched Mason Miller of the Oakland Athletics pitch, I know some of you have because you're hoping that the Braves trade for him. His last 15 games, he's pitched 19 1/3 innings, no runs, no walks, 40 strikeouts. He is the most exciting pitcher, maybe player. He only comes in for 1 inning, and you never know when that's going to happen. But 19 1/3 innings, no walks, 40 strikeouts. That is unreal. Of course, he's pumping in 103, 104, and then if you're not ready for that, he'll drop in a slider at 90 miles per hour as well that you can't be ready for when you have to sit on 101, 102, 103. He's the first pitcher. This is from Sarah as well. He's the first pitcher with a scoreless 15-game span with more than 35 strikeouts and fewer than 5 walks since 1901. Just crazy stuff from Miller, Mason Miller over there. Hopefully you've been able to catch some of his games. It's just really fun to watch. Speaking of fun to watch, Bobby Witt. A couple of days ago on May 22nd, he was 3 for 4, 2 home runs, 6 RBI, and a stolen base. On the year, he's slashing 308, 365, 551 with 15 doubles, 6 triples, 7 home runs, 18 walks, 16 stolen bases, 46 runs scored. He's doing what we expect Ronald to do. He's having the kind of year that we expected Ronald to have, and it's really fun to watch. I like watching that Royals team. I talked about it earlier. They're right there in that division race, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. I want to also mention Gunner Henderson with the Orioles. He's slashing 268, 352, 596 with 16 home runs, 36 runs scored, 35 runs driven in, and 7 stolen bases. Those two young guys, there's a lot of great young talent in the game. Ronald's just 26 himself. Michael Harris in there as well. Braves have a lot of young superstars in their own right at the moment. But Bobby Witt Jr., Gunner Henderson, they feel like two guys that might be taking over this league pretty soon with the way that they're playing. Max Fried gives up a leadoff double to start the bottom of the 6th. Hopefully he can erase that. But I wanted to point that out. Again, for those of you that maybe just focus on the Braves, hopefully this is a chance for you to take a look at what's happening else around the league. There's still a lot of good baseball going out there. And if you're frustrated with what's happening with the Braves, turn on a Royals game. Watch Bobby Witt. Turn on an A's game. I know not many people saying that, but if they have a lead in the 9th inning, you want to turn on an A's game. As well says the no is no more. Max Fried flirting with another no-hitter now. He's now had one through 5, 6, and 7 innings so far this year, as he's just been fantastic for the most part. Happy 83rd birthday to Bobby Cox. Want to make sure to shout that out as well. And then finally, I want to get to this news from Josh Hader. There's an article on ESPN from Buster Olney. He says, where he talks about Josh Hader setting usage rules while he was with the Brewers and with the Padres too, basically while he's in arbitration. And his reasoning for that, he lost an arbitration case in 2019. And at that point, I can remember the Brewers were using him in multi-inning situations. He would a lot of times come in, pitch 2 innings. And after he lost that arbitration case, essentially said, you know what, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to risk injury when relief pitchers just aren't rewarded that much in arbitration. I want to make sure that I stay as healthy as I can until I get an opportunity to get my big payday. That I don't like that. I mean, I get it from a player standpoint. Relief pitchers are just so volatile that teams typically aren't willing to pay much for them. Yes, even in arbitration, and they're really quick to let them go because you can just churn out relievers. That rubbed me the wrong way. I see Joe Me saying that he agrees with Hader. I like that when the Astros gave him a long-term deal, he said, I'll pitch whenever you want. But that's my issue, Joe. That's my issue. Yeah, now that he has the bag, he'll pitch whenever he wants. But up until that point, you're going to say, no, maybe you need me to get 4 outs in this one, but I can't do it because I might get injured and I might not get that payday down the road. That doesn't sit right with me. Are you going to tell your employer, hey, I just can't do it today. I want to make sure I stay healthy so I get this promotion in 3 years. I'm not going to do that today. I don't know. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with you, Joe, but I thank you for being everydayer. Joe's one of the best out there. So I thank you for your opinion on that. But that didn't sit well with me. Let me know what you think as well. How would you feel if you're a player on that team and you're in a tight spot and you need Josh Hader to come in and get an out in the 8th and he's not willing to do that and you lose that game? How would you feel if you're a teammate of Josh Hader's? From what I understand from the Brewers, that didn't sit very well with them, and that's why they traded him in the middle of a pennant race. I think there was more going on with that team, but it doesn't sit well with me. So again, I'd like to know what all of you think on that as well. A couple more news items. Blue Jays might be willing to sell Bo Bichette, maybe. Attendance at last weekend was the highest average attendance in a decade before June, not counting opening weekends. That's per MLB Communications, so that's great. Matt Olson played in his 500th consecutive game last week, only 6 longer streaks since 2000, that coming from Sarah Langs. And Giants outfitter Jung-Hoo Lee is out for the season with a labrum injury. All right, next we will turn our attention to the rest of tonight's game, but also Thursday as well, where Darius Vines could be getting a chance to cement himself in the rotation and earn a rotation spot. We'll talk about that here next. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, Max Fried drives in or gives up a run here in the 6th inning. It is now just 2-1 Braves with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th. Going to need that offense to do a little bit more work here. Max Fried's been great, but could use a little bit more support. Let's talk about what could happen on Thursday. Darius Vines, I believe at this point, we're pretty safe to say he's not coming into this game unless it just goes a while in extra innings, and let's hope that doesn't happen. Darius Vines is going to be your starter on Thursday. Still not sure who's going for the Cubs in that one, but for Darius Vines, an opportunity here. And look, there's also the chance the Braves need a starter on Friday as well. There's a chance that Darius Vines pitches on Thursday, and maybe no matter what he does, he's getting sent down and somebody else is getting recalled for Saturday. That's certainly possible. But I think for Darius Vines, he's got to be going into it thinking, Bryce Elder's down for a while. They can't bring him back anytime soon. This is a chance for him to go out and pitch a good game and maybe show that he deserves another turn or two in the rotation. Bryce Elder got his chance. He couldn't hold on to it. Maybe now it's Darius Vines' chance. I kind of agree with Ecuadorman here, though. Says he doesn't trust Vines, Elder, or Winans. Who can we see as a 5th starter? Maybe AJ Smith-Shawver, maybe Hurston Waldrop, who's looked much better here as of late. But I think for a while, at least for the next month or so, I think it's just going to be a revolving door of those guys you just mentioned, whether it be Winans, Vines, Dodd, Elder. I think it's going to be somewhat of a revolving door until maybe one of those guys sticks. And that's why I say, it could be an important start for Darius Vines to see if he can stick, see if he can show enough to get another turn in the rotation. Take a couple more questions here from the comment section. Miguel Frias says, hey, Jake, the Braves team is not designed for close games. I think the Braves need to acquire a first baseman for making a platoon. Miguel, they are not getting rid of Matt Olson. They gave him a big deal. They're not platooning with him. I am not Matt. I've said this all along. Matt Olson is the least of my worries. I worry more about Ronald getting back to MVP form than I do Matt Olson getting back to the player he was last year. I know people don't like talking about underlying metrics, but 93.5 mile per hour average exit velocity, 14.8% barrel rate. That is just ridiculous. Matt Olson is going to come around. I think he's probably been hurt the most by these deflated baseballs, whatever you want to call them. He's had so many balls die at the warning track, so many balls that I thought were no doubters that just didn't get out. Things are going to turn around for Matt Olson. That I can assure you. Leland says, hey, Jake, hope Max had a great game and is able to go deep into the games. Braves need that. 1 step forward and 3 steps back seems to be how our season is going so far, as Max does get out of the bottom of the 6th, allowing just 1 run. It's 2-1 Braves going to the 7th. I agree. And Max is already through 6 innings. And you didn't use Pierce Johnson on Wednesday night. You didn't use Iglesias. So you got those 2 guys ready. If Max can give him 1 more inning, and maybe you go to those 2 guys, hopefully they can hold on to a 2-1 win. Hopefully the offense can give you a little bit more. That's what you need. I do agree with Leland's assessment, though. It feels like it has been 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back here lately for this Braves team. Again, I've seen signs of this offense being able to break out, and I'll see it in maybe 1 or 2 games, and then, they have 2 bad ones. It's kind of like I talked about this on the postcast last night too, with Ronald and Matt specifically. There were good games over the weekend for Matt and Ronald, but it just didn't continue into Wednesday night's game and hasn't continued, or it didn't continue into Tuesday night's game and it hasn't continued into Wednesday's night's game. They're not able to string together good outings, good at bats from, whether it be in the game or game to game. It just seems like you'll see glimpses of it, and then they just revert, right back to what they were before, what they've been for a while now, which is just bad at bats. When I'm watching the game, I'm not always just looking at results. And I know some people don't agree with that assessment. I'm looking at bats. Does it look like you have a game plan when you're going up there? Are you swinging at good pitches? Are you making good contact? You can't always help sometimes where the ball goes or how they have you positioned. Sometimes it's just bad luck. What you can control is the type of pitches you swing at, the type of contact that you make. That's what I'm looking at when I'm watching a hitter. And there are times here recently where I'm seeing that from Ronald. I'm seeing that from Matt. I'm seeing that from others. And then there's just at bats like they had in the 10th inning on Tuesday night that are just awful. Like there was no game plan. nothing when they went up to the plate. And those are the ones that are frustrating for me when I've been watching the Braves here lately. Ecuadorman says, how long do you think to stretch Kerr for starter if they choose to make him a starter? I think he threw 68 pitches in his last outing. So if they did want to stretch him out, I mean, I don't think it would take too terribly long, maybe 2 more starts. Ed Gwinnett, as Arcia gets into one, does it stay fair? Oh, off the wall, a double for Arcia. I thought I was going to get a home run call on here, but a leadoff double for Arcia in the 7th, so that's great. But as Joe Me kind of confirms that Ray Kerr's been up to 60 pitches. So again, I think 2 more starts, maybe give him to 75 next time out at Gwinnett, and then maybe get him to 85, 90 the next time out. I could see him, getting that point for Ray Kerr. To me, it's kind of similar to the Ronaldo Lopez situation. You got 2 really good pitches. Can you get me through 5 innings? I know Lopez has been doing better than that, but that was kind of my view of Lopez when he started is, hey, you got 2 pitches. Can you get me through a lineup twice? And can you make that stretch out to the 5th inning? If Ray Kerr can do that and can do it on a consistent basis as a 5th starter, that's all you're looking for. I mean, that's all I'm asking for from Elder, Vines, Winans, whoever's in that spot is, can you give me 5 quality innings and keep the team in the game? That's all you're really asking for, but you haven't been getting that consistently from that spot or from Elder in particular. Michael Harris moves a runner over here. So maybe the Braves are going to tack on a run. I'm going to have to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining me live during the game. If you enjoy this type of thing, let me know, and maybe we'll do it more in the future. But me and Grant will have the postcast for you after tonight's game and tomorrow's game, and I'll be back with you on Thursday night for the mailbag episode. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.